Have you ever wondered how one of the most enduring conflicts in modern history, the Israel-Hamas conflict, began? Our story takes us back to the middle of the 20th century. In the year 1948, a new nation was born in the Middle East. This nation was Israel, established as a homeland for the Jewish people who had suffered immense persecution during the Holocaust. However, the creation of Israel was not without controversy. The land on which Israel was established was already home to a large population of Palestinians. The establishment of a new Jewish state resulted in the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes. This displacement, also known as the Nakba or catastrophe in Arabic, is viewed by many Palestinians as a grave injustice, a wound that has never healed. Fast forward almost 4 decades to 1987. The Palestinian people, disillusioned and frustrated by years of displacement and occupation, turned to a new resistance movement for hope. This movement was Hamas, an acronym for Harakat al-Muqawama al-Islamiyya, which translates to Islamic Resistance Movement. Hamas's ideology is rooted in Islam, and it views the land of Palestine as an Islamic land waqf or endowment that cannot be surrendered to non-Muslims. This view starkly contrasts with Israel's Zionist ideology, which sees Israel as the rightful homeland of the Jewish people. Hamas's establishment marked a new chapter in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. With its militant tactics and refusal to recognize Israel's right to exist, Hamas posed a serious challenge to Israel's authority. This ideological clash between Hamas and Israel, rooted in deep-seated beliefs and historical grievances, has fueled a conflict that has endured for decades. So it was these early events that sowed the seeds of the Israel-Hamas conflict. But how did Hamas grow from a small organization into a major political force? This query invites us to delve into the tumultuous period of the late 20th century, marked by the First and Second Intifadas. The First Intifada, which spanned from 1987 to 1993, was a grassroots uprising against Israeli occupation. It was during this time that Hamas started to gain traction. The group, which was initially established as a social and religious organization, began to adopt a more militant stance. The political landscape was fertile for Hamas to sow seeds of resistance, as frustration and anger towards Israeli occupation were mounting among Palestinians. Hamas's rise was further propelled by the Second Intifada in the early 2000s. This period was marked by an even higher level of violence and a shift in tactics. Hamas, along with other militant groups, began to use suicide bombings as a method of resistance. These attacks, targeting both military and civilian populations, not only shocked the world but also intensified the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But why did these tactics elevate Hamas rather than alienate it? The answer lies in the broader context of Palestinian society during this time. Hamas was providing social services where the Palestinian Authority was failing, and its uncompromising stance against Israel resonated with a population feeling increasingly desperate and oppressed. Furthermore, the group's use of violence was seen by some as a legitimate response to Israeli aggression. This perspective, combined with the group's social welfare programs, helped Hamas gain popular support among Palestinians, particularly in the Gaza Strip. In the midst of this chaos, Hamas found its footing. It moved from the fringes of Palestinian politics to the center stage, becoming a significant player in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This rise was not without controversy, and the group's tactics were met with international condemnation. However, within the context of the Intifadas, Hamas was able to leverage the anger and frustration of the Palestinian people to exert significant influence. In the midst of chaos, Hamas found its footing and began to exert significant influence. But how did we go from violent clashes to the political domination of Hamas in the Gaza Strip? Let's turn the clock back to 2006, a year that would prove to be pivotal in the Israel-Hamas conflict. That year, the Palestinian Authority held legislative elections, and the world watched with bated breath. The elections were a surprise to many. Hamas, the group known more for its militant activities than its political acumen, emerged victorious, winning a majority of seats in the Palestinian Legislative Council. This victory was unexpected, to say the least, and it set the stage for a seismic shift in the region's dynamics. However, the transition of power was far from smooth. Hamas's win led to a conflict with Fatah, the party that had long dominated Palestinian politics. Tensions between the two groups were already simmering, and the election results brought them to a boiling point. The tension escalated into a full-blown confrontation in 2007, an event now known as the Battle of Gaza. The world watched as these two Palestinian factions turned on each other. The battle was fierce and bloody, and when the dust settled, Hamas had seized control of the Gaza Strip. For the first time, Hamas was not just a militant group, but a governing authority in control of a significant Palestinian territory. This event shifted the dynamics of the Israel-Hamas conflict. Hamas now had a new platform and increased resources to challenge Israel. It also intensified the international scrutiny and pressure on the group, as it now bore the responsibilities of governance. In the aftermath of the Battle of Gaza, the world saw a new phase in the Israel-Hamas conflict. The battle lines were drawn not just along ideological differences, but also territorial control. The Gaza Strip, once a battleground, was now under the control of Hamas, setting the stage for the conflicts that would follow in the years ahead. This event marked a significant turning point in the Israel-Hamas conflict, with Hamas now in control of a major Palestinian territory. But what has transpired since Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip? In the years following the Hamas takeover, the conflict between Israel and Hamas escalated into a series of wars, the impact of which has been profound and devastating. The first of these, known as the Gaza War, or Operation Cast Lead, erupted in late 2008. For 3 weeks, the region was embroiled in violence that resulted in significant casualties and widespread destruction. Fast forward to 2012, the region once again found itself in the throes of conflict with the eruption of the Second Gaza War, also known as Operation Pillar of Defense. This 8-day conflict saw the first use of the Iron Dome missile defense system by Israel, which intercepted hundreds of rockets fired from Gaza. The third major conflict, Operation Protective Edge, broke out in 2014. Lasting 7 weeks, this was the most devastating of the 3 wars. The human cost was immense, with thousands of lives lost, the majority being Palestinian civilians. The physical infrastructure of Gaza was left in ruins, with homes, schools, and hospitals reduced to rubble. But the wars are not the whole story. The ongoing blockade of the Gaza Strip by Israel and Egypt, imposed since 2007, has had a significant impact on the lives of the Palestinian people. The blockade restricts the movement of people and goods in and out of Gaza, leading to severe shortages of essential supplies and crippling the economy. It has been described by many as a form of collective punishment, affecting every aspect of life in Gaza. Despite various attempts at mediating peace and numerous ceasefires, the conflict between Israel and Hamas continues. The cycle of violence, retaliation, and repression seems to be unending, with each side blaming the other for the ongoing strife. Despite numerous ceasefires and peace talks, the Israel-Hamas conflict continues to smolder. So where does this leave us today, and what might the future hold for the Israel-Hamas conflict? The current state of the conflict between Israel and Hamas is a delicate one. Tensions remain high, punctuated by sporadic outbreaks of violence. The Gaza Strip, the epicenter of the conflict, continues to suffer from high levels of poverty, unemployment, and infrastructural damage. While ceasefires have been brokered, they are often short-lived, and the cycle of violence inevitably resumes. Looking to the future, there are several potential scenarios. One possibility is a continuation of the status quo, with periods of relative calm interrupted by bouts of intense violence. This scenario, however, offers no long-term solution, and the human cost continues to rise with each passing year. Another possibility is a more successful international intervention. The United Nations, the European Union, and other international entities could play a more active role in mediating between the two parties. This approach would require a concerted effort and the political will to enforce any agreements reached. Then there's the possibility of a two-state solution, long considered the most viable path to peace. This would involve the creation of an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel. However, the practicalities of such a solution are fraught with challenges, including the issue of Israeli settlements and the status of Jerusalem. Finally, there's the possibility of a one-state solution, where Israelis and Palestinians share a single democratic state. This idea, while appealing in theory, faces strong opposition from both sides and raises numerous questions about the nature of such a state. The challenges of peacekeeping are immense. Trust between the two sides is almost non-existent, and the pain of past conflicts is still very much alive. Reconciliation will require time, patience, and a genuine commitment to peace from all parties involved. The future of the Israel-Hamas conflict remains uncertain, but one thing is clear. Until a durable solution is found, the cycle of violence is likely to continue.